Chicago winters were merciless, the kind that crept into bones, leaving even the bravest of souls longing for warmth. From the wide window of her condominium, Margaret Reynolds, Maggie, as everyone called her, watched the snow swirl down in steady sheets, blanketing the street below in silent white. The city looked muffled, its usual chaos subdued by the storm. She sat curled in a leather chair, a plain gray suit hanging neatly on her frame. Her shoulder-length brown hair was pinned back in its usual no-nonsense way, and her makeup was just enough to make her look professional, not striking. To most, she was the picture of an ordinary office worker, steady, predictable, unremarkable. But appearances were Maggie's greatest armor. She sipped her coffee slowly, letting the heat fight back the chill that seeped through the glass. On the table beside her were scattered documents, quarterly reports filled with sterile numbers, but her eyes weren't on them. Her gaze drifted often to the snow, to the stillness outside, as if she were weighing decisions too heavy to be confined to ink and paper. A knock at the door broke her thoughts. "Mail delivery," came Sam's voice, the building manager. "Thanks, Sam, just leave it there." Moments later, Maggie pulled the small stack of envelopes inside, bills, advertisements, meaningless newsletters, until her hand stilled on a pastel blue envelope. The back bore elegant calligraphy, looping letters that seemed to sneer at her. "Let's celebrate Vanessa and Michael's baby." Maggie's lips pressed into a thin line. Her sister, of course. She slid a finger under the flap and pulled out the card. The invitation was for next Saturday at an upscale country club in the wealthy Chicago suburb of Lake Forest. Host, Eleanor Reynolds. Her mother. Naturally, attached was a short note, written in her mother's familiar, commanding hand. "Please come. It's an important family day." The word, please, was never truly a request when Eleanor wrote it. Maggie leaned back in her chair, staring at the snow again. Family gatherings had always been less about celebration and more about endurance for her. The phone rang sharply, cutting through her silence. She didn't need to look at the screen to know. It was her mother. Maggie inhaled deeply before answering. "Good morning, Mom." "Maggie." Eleanor's voice rang with practiced cheer, brittle and commanding at the edges. "Did you get the invitation?" "I just opened it." "Wonderful. The whole family is gathering to celebrate Vanessa's special day. You'll come, won't you?" Eleanor didn't wait for an answer. Her words already assumed one. "Of course," Maggie said flatly. "I'll drive in the morning and return that night. Work's busy." "Oh, nonsense." Eleanor's sigh was heavy with disapproval. "Stay overnight. Your bedroom is exactly as you left it. I'll book a hotel." A pause, sharp and cutting, stretched between them. Then came Eleanor's familiar reproach. "Always work, Maggie. Always rushing somewhere. If you're too busy, at least make sure you prepare a proper gift. Vanessa deserves only the best." "I know," Maggie replied, her voice clipped. When the call ended, Maggie set the phone down and closed her eyes. The conversation left her drained, as they always did. Eleanor's expectations were endless, and Maggie had long since stopped trying to meet them. That evening, Maggie shed her armor, the plain suits, the tired office worker facade. She slipped into silk pajamas the color of midnight and carried a glass of red wine into the back of her apartment. The study's door opened with a quiet click. Here, she was herself. The room glowed with soft golden light. Floor-to-ceiling monitors displayed shifting stock charts, global news feeds, and flashing updates. A sleek glass desk stretched across one wall, lined with state-of-the-art computers. In the corner, a world map bristled with red pins marking cities across continents. This was no ordinary apartment. This was headquarters. Maggie set her wine down, lowered herself into the leather chair, and opened her laptop. The words Reynolds Technologies quarterly report lit up the screen. She scrolled through the numbers, her eyes sharp and calculating. "Jason," she said, and the AI assistant's calm voice filled the room. "Yes, Maggie? Prepare a list of acquisition candidates. I'll be away next week, so only contact me in an emergency." "Understood. Should I also remind you about the baby shower?" Maggie smirked. "No need. I've already prepared my performance." She opened a drawer and pulled out a small jewelry box. Inside glittered a diamond necklace of such brilliance it could outshine any gift in the room. It was wrapped elegantly, a card attached, to Vanessa. Maggie swirled her wine slowly, gazing at the necklace. The perfect bait, she murmured. The following Saturday, Lake Forest shimmered under a pale winter sun. The upscale country club loomed ahead, its white columns tall against the snowy grounds. Maggie parked her sleek black sedan and sat for a moment, adjusting the cuffs of her navy dress. Simple, elegant, refined, nothing flashy, but quietly commanding. She took the gift box from her bag, inhaled once, and stepped into the biting cold. At the entrance, Eleanor awaited, dressed in a flamboyant pink dress that screamed for attention. Her arms opened wide as Maggie approached. Maggie, Eleanor's perfume hit before the embrace did. Mom. Maggie leaned in politely, her tone cool. You're late. Everyone's already here. Couldn't you have chosen something more colorful? This is a celebration, after all. Maggie only smiled faintly, letting her mother lead her inside. The private banquet room glittered with pastel decorations, blue ribbons, balloons, and floral arrangements transformed it into a stage. At the center, like royalty, sat Vanessa, 8 months pregnant, radiant in a satin maternity dress. Big sis, Vanessa waved, her smile bright and flawless. You finally made it. Maggie approached, presenting the box. Congratulations, Vanessa. Here's something for you. The necklace inside drew a collective gasp. Admiration rippled through the guests, faces leaning closer. This is incredible, Vanessa said with a hint of reproach, but it's not for the baby. I brought something for the baby as well, Maggie said calmly, but I wanted to give my sister something for herself. From across the room, Eleanor's voice chimed. Maggie, come meet James, Vanessa's wonderful husband. James Williams was tall, composed, with sharp eyes that seemed to take everything in. His handshake was firm, his gaze sharper. Nice to meet you, Maggie. I've heard so much about you. Hopefully good things, she replied smoothly. James tilted his head, studying her face. Have we met? You look familiar. No, Maggie answered quickly. I think you're mistaken. But James's frown lingered, and Maggie knew then, her carefully built facade was beginning to crack. From the family, an unpleasant premonition ran through Maggie's chest, the kind that tightened her breath and made her heart stumble in rhythm. Eleanor's surprises were never harmless, especially not when they were staged in front of a crowd. Her mother's big announcements almost always ended with Maggie carrying the burden. The room was wrapped in expectant silence. Chandeliers glittered above, their lights reflecting off crystal glasses filled with champagne. Guests leaned in with smiles, waiting. At the center, Eleanor clutched the microphone with both hands, her expression glowing with the thrill of holding power. Dear friends, Eleanor began, her voice infused with practiced warmth, each word shaped as if she were addressing royalty. The Reynolds family has always valued one thing above all else, our bonds. She paused dramatically, her gaze sweeping across the room. As Vanessa approaches this wonderful time of becoming a mother, our family has decided to offer her something very special. Maggie's stomach twisted. The tone was too familiar. This was how it always began. You see, childbirth brings many expenses, Eleanor went on smoothly. The best hospitals, the best doctors, postnatal care, and of course everything the baby will need. And today, we have wonderful news. For just a second, Eleanor's gaze sharpened, flicking toward Maggie like a knife. There was expectation in her eyes, and something else, something commanding. Maggie felt her chest tighten as if invisible hands had gripped her ribs. Her sister will cover all the expenses. The words fell heavy, echoing across the hall, carried by the microphone. A ripple of murmurs moved through the guests, heads turned toward Maggie, smiles forming, polite applause beginning. To them, it was a generous family gesture. To Maggie, it was a trap. Her blood ran cold. She hadn't promised this. She hadn't even been consulted. It was an ambush, staged and executed in front of witnesses. Slowly, she rose to her feet. Her legs felt shaky, like she was standing on shifting ground. The silence grew, pressing in. Eleanor was still smiling, expecting her daughter's compliance. No. The single word came out quietly, but it cut through the air like glass breaking. Maggie shook her head, her voice steadier the second time. No. The applause faltered, Confusion spread across faces. Eleanor's smile froze, her mask cracking. "Maggie," she said into the microphone, her tone sharp, though she tried to lace it with humor. "Stop joking." "I'm not joking, Mom." Maggie's voice was calm but unyielding. "You didn't ask me. You just decided for me. Don't ever assume my consent again." Gasps moved through the crowd. Eleanor's cheeks flushed, her smile vanishing as anger surfaced. She quickly lowered the microphone and stepped toward Maggie, her heels striking the floor like gavel blows. "Why must you always spoil the family's special moments?" Eleanor hissed under her breath, though the hall was quiet enough for many to hear. "I'm not spoiling anything." Maggie stood her ground, though her hands trembled at her sides. "I'm just reminding you, my wallet isn't yours to use." Eleanor's eyes widened in disbelief. "Your wallet?" Her voice grew louder. "That wallet is just a salary from some little office job, isn't it? Is it really so much to ask for a sacrifice, for family?" "It's not about money." Maggie's voice trembled, but she forced strength into her words. "It's about respect. It's about you deciding my life without my permission, again and again." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Guests exchanged uneasy glances, some pretending to sip their drinks to avoid the spectacle. James's parents leaned together, whispering behind their hands. Eleanor's voice rose. "Is helping your family so distasteful? Do you not love your sister? Do you not care about the child that's coming?" "This isn't about love." "Yes, it is about love and money." Eleanor's words cracked, sharp with emotion. "You've always been selfish, always thinking only of yourself, hiding behind your work. But what is your work, Maggie? What has it ever amounted to? Just a—" "Mom, that's enough." Maggie's voice rang out, firm. Her eyes burned, but her chin lifted high. "I'm leaving." She turned, reaching for her bag, but before she could take a step, Eleanor lunged forward. The crack of the slap echoed through the hall. Gasps broke the silence. Maggie staggered, her cheek stinging with the heat of her mother's hand. She froze, eyes wide, her face turned toward the floor. For a long moment, no one breathed. Maggie slowly raised her eyes, meeting her mother's furious glare. Her lips trembled as words formed. "Mom? Get out." Eleanor's teeth clenched, her voice low but venomous. "Get out of my sight. I don't need a daughter who disgraces me." The guests shifted, ashamed to witness the spectacle. Many averted their eyes, some whispered, and yet, only one person looked directly at Maggie, James. His gaze was steady, filled with sympathy and something else, respect. Before Maggie could move, another voice pierced the air. Vanessa stood, a smug smile curling her lips. "Still stingy, even now. Of course you wouldn't help. You don't even have children of your own to spend on." Her tone dripped with contempt. "Always hiding behind that boring job of yours, always working, always pretending. But what do you have to show for it, big sis?" Maggie's chest heaved. For years, she had carried the weight of her family's scorn. For years, she had played the role of the quiet, ordinary daughter. They never knew, never guessed, what she had built in silence. Her lips parted, but no words came. And then, unexpectedly, James moved. He stepped to Vanessa's side, resting a firm hand on her shoulder. His face was stern, his voice quiet yet commanding. "That's enough, Vanessa." She turned to him in shock. "James? This has gone too far," he said. Then he turned his gaze to Eleanor. "And you've crossed the line. This is a family matter." Eleanor snapped. "You should stay out of it." "No," James replied, his voice calm but edged with steel. "I won't stand here while my wife insults someone who deserves respect, especially when none of you even know who she really is." The room stilled, tension thick in the air. Vanessa blinked. Confusion etched across her face. "What are you talking about?" James leaned closer, his words deliberate. "Do you know who your sister really is?" Vanessa's eyes widened, disbelief flooding her face. Slowly, she turned to Maggie, who stood frozen. Maggie's breath caught. The secret she had guarded for so long hovered at the edge of revelation. She met James's eyes, and in them, she saw not only sympathy, but recognition. He knew. But how?